What if I told you that your cards have a history, science, or even a fantastical mythology behind them? The most beautiful artwork or exceedingly intricate text can be interpreted as so much more than just that. Welcome to Is It Fact or Fiction? The samurai were fierce warriors that protected their homelands and were the dominant force of warriors in the army. And just how these honorable fighters were feared across the lands, so too were their Yu-Gi-Oh counterparts, as with the release of Storm of Ragnarok, 6 samurai absolutely annihilated the opposing competition and took over the meta in early 2011. The criteria in which I will be evaluating the accuracy of 6 samurai will be as such: card art, relevance in the meta, card text, and playstyle. Each one can earn up to 2.5 points for the goal of reaching a 10 out of 10 accuracy. As previously stated, their dominance in the meta is an excellent reflection of their militarized control over feudal Japan. And yes, I'm comparing cardboard in a children's card game to an empire built on war. So that's an immediate 2.5 points right there. Now let's take a look at their art. The armor they wear is very well done, detailing the padding on the chest, shins, and arms, while also showing the silk in between for easy movement. The biggest issue with the art is that most of the samurai are not wearing a mask, which is a huge part of a samurai's attire. It was meant to strike fear into the hearts of their enemies as they ride into battle. And, let's be real, nobody's gonna shit their pants when they see this kind of face. Other cards of the 6 samurai archetype portray them having mechanical body parts. Now, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. They didn't actually have that kind of technology at the time. Incredibly unfortunate, I know. But due to these 2 huge factors, I will only give 1 point to this category. Next up, we have card text. This includes both effect boxes, obviously, as well as card names, since they can have a huge impact. Starting with the names of the cards, the way they named the original 6 and then calling the next line of support the legendary 6 is an excellent way to show how the new generation of warriors is even stronger than the last, especially considering that it was this support that put 6 samurai into the meta. Where it really gets interesting, however, is the decision to name the most recent wave of support the Secret 6. They're clearly meant to represent ninjas, so why call them samurai at all? As I'm sure many of you know, the samurai had a code of honor called Bushido, which prevented them from doing certain actions, and this is where ninjas come in. They were paid by daimyos to either spy on or assassinate their enemies. Daimyos, in a short explanation, were owners of large sums of land. And of the many skills ninjas had, blending in and infiltration were among some of the most useful. So, it can be interpreted that the Secret 6 blended in as samurai to fool you as the player, to be played in the deck, and even the effect they all share to banish themselves from grave to protect something can be seen as a maneuver from the shadows, not exactly being present on the battlefield and yet having an impact on it. Or you could just say they didn't want to give ninjas more support because, let's be honest, ninjas fucking suck. But I prefer my explanation. Coming up next is Great Shogun Shien. He can special summon himself if you control 2 or more samurai monsters, which goes hand in hand with his name, since a shogun was a type of commander, and while it was a very short-lived position in the Japanese army, it still well represents the card by coming onto the battlefield and fighting with his army. The last point of this section is the fact that many samurai monsters have the ability to pop different types of cards if you control another samurai monster. This is exactly like attacking from a distance and not having to go into combat right away, which was a tactic samurai used often by firing volleys of arrows to weaken the opposing force and then strike. In fact, they loved bow and arrows so much that they were masters of archery on horseback. While there's so much more to dissect and explore, I'm gonna go ahead and give this section a well-deserved 2.5 points. Last but not least, the final section of playstyle. In 2011, samurais were revered for being able to summon synchro monsters on the first turn, such as Shien and even Achuria Barkion. They had swarming capabilities with the likes of Kageki and Kizaru, just to name a few, mimicking that of an actual war strategy by overwhelming the opponent and having powerful warriors by your side. And of course, their large dependence on Bushido counters was the perfect way to show how vital their warrior code was. It was just such a huge part of being a samurai. As more years gone by, the deck became more and more of a heavy combo deck, replicating the intricacies of battle by the many combo pieces and steps required. At the same time, however, the deck fell out of favor and was at best just a rogue deck with minimal success. And so, the story of the Six Samurai showed the major prominence of such warriors when first introduced to the world. But like all things, time was a far too superior opponent, and both the deck, as well as the warriors, became a thing of the past. Except of course for pole position FTK. Another well-deserved 2.5 points for Gryffindor. As we come to an end, the final scores have been provided. 2.5 points for meta relevance, 1 point for card art, 2.5 points for card text, and 2.5 points for playstyle, bringing that to a total of an 8.5 out of 10 accuracy. Congratulations to Six Samurai for being the most accurate archetype in this series so far. Let me know if there are any other archetypes you would like me to go over, as well as if you would want to see the next video go more in depth, or keep it short just like this one. But for now, I'll see you in the next one.